The Pittsburgh Penguins absolutely demolished the Edmonton Oilers on Thursday night, and Pat and I are going to recap that game, plus get you all set for the final game of this 4-game road trip right after this.
You're Locked On Penguins, your daily podcast on the Pittsburgh Penguins, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Locked On Penguins podcast. I am one of your hosts, Hunter Hodes. You can follow me on Twitter at Hunter Hodes, joined by my co-host, Patrick Damp. You can follow him on all social media platforms at Syndrome for Wet. You can also follow the show's Twitter at LO_Penguins, and you can follow us on Instagram at LockedOn_Penguins. Of course, thank you all so much for making this your first listen/watch of the day. We are free and available on all platforms. Pat, I just have a simple question for you to start off today's episode. How many combined points did Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl have last night?
Let me pick up my phone here, get the calculator app out, because this one's going to be a little difficult. Oh, zero.
Yes, a big old goose egg for Connor and Leon. And that's where I want to start today's episode. The Penguins did an outstanding job against both of those players. They turned them into complete non-factors for the entire game, even when Edmonton loaded up Connor and Leon like they do when they're trailing, whether it's 1 goal, 2 goals, or 3 goals, or even by more than that. Once we got later on in the third period, they were still doing it. The Penguins did such a great job keeping them to the outside and not allowing them to get to the high danger areas. Yes, it gets scary when you see them rev it up, just considering how fast both of them are, especially Connor McDavid. But I thought the way the Penguins defended against both of them in this game was spectacular. I can't even remember the last time they defended them this well, man. That's where I want to start. I thought the way the Penguins played in their own zone against those two especially, but also the entire Oilers team was great. It wasn't as good as what we saw against Calgary. Edmonton still had some chances in this game, and I thought Artur Shirelovs was especially sharp throughout. Shout out to him. But I want to start there, man. The way they defended 97 and 29 was superb.
Yeah, they had their chances and they had a couple of moments, but I mean, at the end of the day, I wouldn't go as far as to say they were non-factors because they're just that good. They're going to get their chances. They're going to get their opportunities, but they did a good job of limiting them to low danger chances and keeping them out of the high danger areas, which is really the more important part of how they defended them. Because as I said on the Thursday show, they're the two kind of players where they're going to get their looks, they're going to get their opportunities, and on most nights they're going to get their points. Didn't happen last night because the Penguins defended them really well in that 6-2 win. And you kind of started the episode with a little bit of a joke about how they were held to 0 points. Since we had to put up with this for quite a while, Hunter, I'm going to ask this question. Should Connor McDavid stay in Edmonton? I mean, you lose 6-2 to the Pittsburgh Penguins. You can't score against Artur Shirelovs. He really owes it to the sport to go somewhere where he can win and not play for a team like the Oilers. Kind of sucks, doesn't it?
That's too good. But even then, it's just Connor and Leon carrying this team virtually every year. Like you see, when you look at their depth, especially this year, there's just not a lot of depth on that lineup. Bouchard's great offensively, but gives it all back in his own zone. Zach Hyman's gotten hot as of late. I still like Nugent Hopkins, but again, there's just not a lot there. So, hey, if they don't win one over the next few years, you could potentially see him ask out. But let's get to our next topic, which you and I discussed this in the preview, man. They had to rattle Tristan Jarry, and they sure did. 3 goals in 37 seconds. That is the third fastest time they have scored 3 goals in franchise history. They did 3 goals in 27 seconds back in 1972, 3 goals in 29 seconds back in 1993, and now this year, 3 goals in 37 seconds. Anthony Mantha shot out of a cannon in the first period. What a saucer pass, by the way, from Justin Brazeau on one of those. And then Mantha absolutely destroys Tristan Jarry with the next goal. And then what do you know? Sidney Crosby with a vintage deflection past Tristan Jarry. Pat, I thought they were going to pull the poor guy after that third goal. He went to the bench. They were working on his skate, trying to get another little timeout, I guess, so he can get his bearings right. But I really thought Edmonton was going to pull him because he was not sharp at the beginning. The Penguins got right to him right away. What a great start. And also just, I can't say enough about the season that Anthony Mantha is having. He's now up to 16 goals. He's going to finish the year with well over 20 goals. And Sid, man, just doing his thing once again. But they needed to start fast, and they did exactly that.
I'm genuinely stunned Knobloch kept Jarry in the net for the whole game. And partially because, yes, he was not very good. And us as Penguins fans were getting a little chuckle out of that because we've seen that plenty of times. But just the way, I didn't think overall that Edmonton was playing particularly poorly. Like they had their moments, they had their pushback. It wasn't like they began flat. That was just a 37-second blitz. It wasn't like the Penguins dominated the first period for 20 minutes and put up 3 goals in a matter of 20 minutes. It was a rough patch. And at least for both of Mantha's goals, I think you can hang them on Jarry. Crosby's deflection, I mean, he's done that to how many goalies at this point? Like, that's not really something that I think you can pin totally on Tristan Jarry. But just for the point where if you're Chris Knobloch, you're a team that's fighting to stay in the playoff picture. You're fighting to really get home ice once the playoffs get here. Every point is precious. And if your goaltender doesn't have it and your team isn't playing all that poorly, you should probably take them out. The other thing that, listen, I'm not anti-challenges in the NHL. I think it's gone a little bit too far, all things considered, but you should not be allowed to call a timeout to get more time to decide if you're going to challenge or not. The minute you call a timeout, the challenge should be off the table, just because if it needs that much time to be broken down, it did not have that much of an impact on the play itself. So I was not a fan of that whatsoever, but we were right. You get the Tristan Jarry early. He rarely, if ever, recovers, and the Penguins getting 3 and 37. It's one hell of a way to do it.
100%. And yeah, I thought that was weird from Chris Knobloch. I think he was just trying to really take his time there, but you just wasted your time out that early in the game. I felt like if he would not have used it, and it was close, but it was still onside, but I felt like if he would not have used it, I think he could have saved it for when they went down 3-0. And then that's probably where you call timeout, 3 goals in 37 seconds to try and calm your team down. I just think he did it way too early. So that part was weird. Again, I really want to shout out Archer Shirelovs, man. I thought consistently spectacular in this game. He made a lot of really big saves, especially on some Bouch bombs from the point. Edmonton had a couple power plays where Bouchard really let it go from about, 30, 35-ish feet out. And Shirelovs had to come up with some big saves, had to come up with some saves on Leon as well, Connor, Hyman, Nugent Hopkins, et cetera, et cetera. So I just can't say enough about the way he played as well, Pat. This was a really nice start.
That's the kind of performance we were asking for, and not just for him individually, because we have talked about how good Skinner has been over the last month, and Skinner has really put himself in position to be the 1A. And the performance last night by Artur Shirelovs was a hold on just a second there, Dan. I'm still here. I'm still an option. So, I mean, you look at the way this team has performed over the last month, and everybody that needs to be contributing is contributing, from all 4 lines, all 3 defensive pairings, both goaltenders. We're going to get into it for FanTake Friday, but I mean, at this point, it's been 50 games. This is a good hockey team. This is just a good hockey team.
Yes, I'm there. This is a legitimately good hockey team, especially with the way they are playing. And I've talked about this on a couple of social media platforms, and I'll say it here. I always roll my eyes at the nobody believed in us mentality, because usually it's someone like Kirby Smart of Georgia saying it, or Nick Saban when he was at Alabama, and
Tom Brady when he was on the Patriots.
Yeah, like Bill Belichick too. Like, everyone always believed in you guys. But this team is taking that mantra and running with it, and deservedly so. Nobody believed in them heading into the season, including us 2 knuckleheads on this podcast. And right now, Pat, they have a legitimate shot to not only make the playoffs, but get home ice in the playoffs. If you look at the money puck odds, 74% right now are the Penguins playoff odds. It is absolutely crazy that we are having all sorts of these types of conversations and we're almost into February. I can't say enough about the way this team is playing, how they have proved both of us wrong, so many other people wrong too. There's 32 games left. They're going to be in it right until the end. And I will say it. I think they have what it takes to get in. I think they can do it. Will they? That's going to be the big question because there's still a little over 30 games left. But I do think they have what it takes to do it.
I do too. I mean, we talked about it yesterday. This is just, you look at a lot of the things that they're doing. It's all sustainable. It's all more than just a hot streak. It's not like they're riding PDO and getting elite goaltending performances and absurd shooting percentages combined. They're just playing smart, simple, solid hockey. They're opportunistic when they need to be. And we would be remiss if we finished this segment without mentioning Evgeny Malkin has found the fountain of youth.
Re-sign him, Kyle Dubas. He needs to be re-signed to a 1-year contract.
Listen, he is open to a 1-year deal. He's open to taking a pay cut. With the way he's playing, I would do it the second your feet touch Pittsburgh's ground after the Olympics because he has earned it. And yes, I don't want to get carried away because it's not even Malkin of 5 years ago, but this is a very good version of Evgeny Malkin. He is a bully. He's hounding the puck. He's found his shot, and he's cutting out a lot of mistakes that even in his prime he would make. So the way he has been playing, I don't know if he's got a whole extra year of hockey left in him, but I'm more than willing to find out.
1 year, $5 million, somewhere around there. This should be a slam dunk. It really should be. $5 million, $5.5 million. You said it. He's open to taking a pay cut. I think if you offered him something along those lines with a no move clause for 1 year, do it. I think he will take that. And his representatives are expected to be here when the Olympic break starts. This should not be a hard negotiation. This should be a very easy contract to get done. I would sign him right away. I mean, Pat, he has 39 points in 35 games this year. He still has it, man. And he's playing really well with Tommy Novak and Igor Chinakhov. And speaking of Igor Chinakhov, that's going to do it for this first segment because coming up in the second segment, Pat and I are going to discuss that disgusting release that he has, plus get you all set for Penguins Canucks on Sunday in Vancouver. Again, that's coming up right after this. But before we get to that, we have to tell you all about our first sponsor, which is FanDuel. FanDuel is officially in playoff mode. Every game day during the NFL playoffs, FanDuel is giving customers even more ways to get in on the action because right now, every NFL playoff game day, FanDuel users get a profit boost pack waiting for them inside the app. Each game day, you will see a pack loaded with multiple profit boosts you can apply to the bets you like most. Open your profit boost pack first thing on game day and see what boosts you want to apply. The boosts let you lean into your game day instincts, whether you're backing momentum, defense, quarterback play, or coaching. The boosts also give you more juice on the bets you already like instead of forcing you to bet something new. Every play feels bigger and the boosts make your bets feel that way too. You make your picks, then apply your profit boost to go after even bigger payouts while the playoffs get rolling. So visit FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL, and grab your profit boost pack every NFL playoff game day. All right, we're back here on this episode of the Locked On Penguins podcast. I am one of your hosts, Hunter Hodes, joined by my good friend and co-host, Patrick Damp. And Pat, Igor Chinakhov's release is ridiculous. That thing exploded off his stick yesterday. Before you could even blink, it was in and out of the net. They had to literally stop play because play was continuing. You didn't even realize it went in. Phil Bourque had to tell everyone on the broadcast, yeah, that was a goal. Just watch the way the puck explodes, man. There is nothing any goaltender on the planet can do to stop it. And he now has 5 goals in 12 games since joining the Penguins. He has been such a great fit on that line with Evgeny Malkin and Tommy Novak. You see the chemistry that Malkin and Chinakhov have together. You see the confidence that Chinakhov has as a member of the Penguins. Just the straight line speed, the way that he's been able to forecheck. He's also defensively responsible, but, you know, more than that, and all those attributes are great, that release is just filth. It really is, man.
It's unbelievable. I keep coming back to the great Jeff Merrick after he was acquired by the Penguins, talked about his release and his wrist shot. When it got clocked at multiple different places, he had a wrist shot, not a slap shot, that got clocked at 90 miles an hour. There are guys who can't get their slap shot up to 90 miles an hour. That's how good this kid's release is. But it's more than the shot. It's more than the goals. He is playing a complete game. He is back checking. He's smart in the defensive zone. He causes chaos on the forecheck when he needs to. He's getting himself to scoring areas. I really don't know what beef he had with Evison when he was in Columbus, but whatever it was must have been real bad, because the fact that Columbus was willing to let him languish and then let him go, I'm genuinely stunned by that, because again, we said it about him the other day. This could be just a hot streak and he could come back to earth, but much like the team itself, the more I watch his game, the more he continues to perform for the Penguins, the more I watch it and go, all of this is sustainable. He's not just getting lucky. He's not just getting hot. He's doing things that lead to offense. He's doing things that lead to scoring chances. So it's a gem of a pickup by Kyle Dubas, and it has really helped this team's depth.
Yeah, the early returns continue to be great with him, and you mentioned it. We'll see if they can last the rest of the season, but so far he's doing everything right, and he's been a great addition to that second line. He is a threat to score every time he is out there. You know, even the top goaltenders, when they see him come in, like someone like Shesterkin, even someone like Vasilevsky at some point, et cetera, you know, they might be kind of getting a bit spooked when they see him coming in with his release, because it beats virtually everyone. Again, just the way that it explodes off the stick is it's something to behold. It really is. Outside of that, you know, Rickard Rakell gets a goal last night. Really nice release past Tristan Jarry. Also great pass from Evgeny Malkin. They are going to get a power play out of that. It was a nice little 6-on-5 moment, but what a pass from Malkin to get that through. And Rakell makes no mistake. It's been nice seeing him heat up a little bit as of late. Too bad started the season a little bit slow, but since he's come back from his injury, he's worked his way up. But you can see that, you know, the big breakout is basically right now. I think he's going to get more goals are going to come for him, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, just copy paste pretty much what I said about Chinakhov there. Is you look at the way Rakell's playing, it's a matter of time. It's not like he's not getting chances. It's not like he's not playing well. Just he's in one of those times. I don't even want to call it a slump, even though technically it kind of is when you look at his production. It's what I always say about a player like Rickard Rakell. My worry begins when the chances stop coming. The chances are there. Eventually they're going to fall. It did last night. I'm not upset. I'm not worried about his game. It's just, it's one of those moments in an NHL season. As the great Adam Gretz always says, every goal scorer in the NHL is streaky.
Right. And one more shout out before we move on to the game against Vancouver. I thought Ryan Shea was especially really good last night, especially in his own zone. There were multiple moments during a 4-on-4 early in that game when he broke up plays that were odd man rushes, and then he had a chance of his own literally seconds after. But even outside of that, I just thought he was always in position, making the right reads, doing a good job going from defense to offense. Just a really steady game from him. So I really wanted to shout him out. And I thought Erik Karlsson was also pretty solid in his comeback game too. So all in all, great performance. You beat the 2-time Western Conference champions in a game that was really a bonus, Pat. Like you and I talked about this, how you didn't technically need this game considering the way the road trip started, but still would have been nice to have. And sure enough, they go out there and dominate the Oilers. No matter what happens on Sunday, this has been a very, and I mean a very successful road trip for the Penguins. 3-0, at least 6 points. They will go for the sweep of this road trip, a 4-0 road trip against the lowly Vancouver Canucks. And speaking of that, again, this has been a Canucks team this year that is really going through it. Quinn Hughes, he's gone, been traded to the Wild. Kiefer Sherwood, he has been traded to the San Jose Sharks. They are led right now in points by Elias Pettersson and Philip Hronek. Both have 29 each. Pettersson just hasn't been the same player the last couple of years as he was even a few years ago. When he's on, I think he is one of my favorite players to watch. It's just about getting him back to that level. And I do think at some point he might need a change of scenery. That contract, though, is quite a bit to stomach. There's a lot of money on it for a lot of terms. So I'll be curious to see if he ever wants to, move, because he does have the full new move. But he can still strike at any time. Philip Hronek has 4 goals and 29 points. Brock Besser, still a good sniper, 11 goals and 24 points in 48 games. They still have Evander Kane is there. Jake DeBrusk's 12 goals and 24 points. So they still have, at least a few guys that can score, but by and large, Pat, this is a team that is really going through it. They're going to be one of the worst teams in the league by the end of the season in the race to get Gavin McKenna, but you don't really want a letdown game here, so to speak.
No, you don't. I mean, you have a chance to sweep a Western road trip, something I can't remember the last time they've ever done that. And you look at the other opportunity at the other end of it is you're really starting to create some distance between you and the teams that are chasing you. You put 2 more points up on the board, you come home, and then you've got the Blackhawks and the Rangers next week. You can really start to solidify your spot as a playoff team going into the Olympic break with 2 points here. And the thing is, it's cliche, it's obvious, but you can't overlook this team just because of how bad they are. Just because that they are this low in the standings, because they've only won 1 game in their last 10. They've got New Jersey tonight. That's another team that's struggling, so we'll see what happens in that game. But I mean, by and large, just take chunks of what you have done the last 3 games and apply it to this one. Play smart defensively, play simple hockey, and don't let up, because that has kind of been an underrated part of these 3 games. It was something that plagued this team a couple of months ago. They would get out to leads, they would get ahead of the game, and then they would take their foot off the gas. They would just think, all right, we've got a few goal lead. We're good here. This one's over. Let's bleed the clock out. And then what do you know? They're losing in overtime, or they're having to get a late goal to get a victory. You get out early against this team and keep pushing. Adam Foote and Patrick Allvin and even Jim Rutherford to an extent are out in the media lately talking about the team culture, talking about how bad the mood is. This is a team that you get up on them and you keep going, they're going to quit. So you just have to play a full 60, and you get out of here with 2 points. You have really, really put yourself in a great spot.
Yeah, the team morale around them is just awful. And you can tell during a lot of that losing streak that the players just had no confidence. It's only when they went up against Washington and they were up by multiple goals that you saw that confidence at least start to creep back ever so slightly, because you watched the body language during a lot of those losses. They were getting blown out in quite a few, and these guys are just sulking their shoulders like, well, what's going on?
We're almost a month into 2026. They have 1 win. 1.
It's bad, man. Like, this is simply not a good team. And they also, have you seen their home record this year, by the way? They hardly win at home either.
It's not good. And
yeah,
I mean, I don't want to do a disservice to our listeners by like kind of blowing off a game preview, but there's only so many ways that I can say that Vancouver's bad and that the Penguins have to take advantage of it.
Pat, the Vancouver Canucks have played 22 games at home this year. Can you guess how many games they have won?
I'm going to say 4.
You are very close. They have won 5 home games all year. This has just been a rotten team at home. It really is just crazy to even say it. But yeah, 2 points right for the taking for the Penguins. Got to show up and keep doing the same things. Again, you even look at some of the underlying metrics for Vancouver. They rank 31st in the league in 5-on-5 actual goals, 42.9%, 29th in the league, though, in expected goal share at 5-on-5, 46.1%. Again, goals have been hard to come by. They haven't defended well. Just nothing has gone right for
the biggest thing I'll say that I want to see out of this game on Sunday. This is the 32nd ranked penalty kill in the NHL.
Yeah.
Your power play is still ranked third because of how good you have been overall this season. But of the last couple of games, they have not been very good. They gave up a shorthanded goal against Edmonton on Thursday night. This has to be your power play get right game. I'm not saying they got to go 100%, but if you get multiple opportunities, you're going to need multiple goals.
Right. I just think the power play has looked really clunky, especially again last night too against Edmonton. Just hasn't been in sync. So I do agree. I think this is a good get right game. And last but not least, you said it about the standings. Penguins right now 2 points up on the Islanders, same games played. They're also 7 points up on the Washington Capitals with still a game in hand. So if they win that game in hand, they'll be 9 points up. And they're 6 points up on the Flyers right now. So again, they're really starting to create some separation, and they have 6 more games into the Olympic break. 3 of them coming up here over the next week. Vancouver, the worst team in the league. The Rangers, the worst team in the East. The Chicago Blackhawks, who they're still not that good either. They had a nice start. They've fallen back to earth, but these are 3 extremely winnable games. After that, you have Ottawa. They're not very good this year, even though they have given the Penguins problems. And then you have 2 big ones against the Islanders and the Sabres. You're going to have to get points there. But 4 of these 6 games, Pat, are against flat out bad teams this year. So you can really solidify yourself into that top 3 spot in the Metro and get closer to potentially clinching home ice. But I think that's going to do it for this second segment. Coming up to end the show, it's Friday. Yins know what that means. It's time to react to your takes and your questions for FanTake Friday. And that's coming up right after this. All right, we're back here on this episode of the Locked On Penguins podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Hunter Hodes, joined by my co-host, Patrick Damp. And Pat, you put up another poll for today. You wrote, are they making the playoffs? Answer the poll, comment with your hot takes, questions, and everything else below. We got 142 votes, and of those votes, 85% of people think that they are making the playoffs. The other 15% are not fully convinced yet. So pretty big disparity there, to say the least, my friend.
I'm with the 85%. I mean, I don't want to put a gold stamp guarantee on it because we have seen crazier things happen in the National Hockey League, but just everything that we have said this episode, the way they're playing, it's very sustainable, barring injuries or something else. I think it's a pretty safe bet to say the Penguins will return to the Stanley Cup playoffs in 2026.
Let's just see how they finish off these next 6 games, and especially going into the trade deadline. But as each passing day goes and as each win keeps coming in, my confidence grows that this team will return to the playoffs. But again, we'll see. Let's get to some takes. Kevin says they need a 10-point cushion before I will feel safe. 6 points really isn't that safe. They are also 6 points out of division lead too. I do think that's fair. I mean, more of a cushion is obviously the best, but I do understand you being a bit nervous because it is still only 6 points. So I get where he's coming from on that. G Tot says hot takes that the Penguins will host a playoff series. Hey, with the way they're going right now, man, not too much of a hot take, at least when you look at the standings right now. But again, they just have to really lock it down over the final, what is it now? Basically 2.5 months of the season, but they're also off for the 2.5, 3 weeks in February. So I'll still count it as 2.5 months, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, combining both of those, I understand, and I'm kind of in that spot where, again, I'm still going to stand by saying I think it's a safe bet they get back, but I'm not going to put the guarantee on it until you get more of a cushion over the teams that are chasing you, because we're still very much in the territory in the Eastern Conference where a bad week puts you out and a good week puts you in. So it's still not safe to say, but I look at the level of play and I think they can do it. And I mean, listen, that same logic applies to them having home ice. You keep having these good weeks, you're going to keep solidifying your spot in a top 3 spot in the Metropolitan Division. So, I mean, it's all there for the taking. They just have to keep this level of play going.
Right. And moving on to a different type of question. This comes from Drake, who asks, who are some trade deadline targets you could see Kyle Dubas going after? I figured we would get at least 1, if not 2 of these for today, considering where the Penguins are in the standings. 11 games separate the Penguins from the trade deadline. Kyle Dubas in a very interesting spot. I still think he is going to get some calls on his pending UFAs, notably Anthony Mantha, who now has 16 goals. I do think teams are going to try everything in their power to get him off the Pittsburgh roster, but I think at this point for Dubas, he's probably going to be like, unless you're blowing me away, I'm just going to keep him, especially with the way that he's gelling with Justin Brazeau and Ben Kindle on that line. But as for targets, this is a player that a couple people floated my way. And by I mean a couple people, I mean a couple of my friends in my DMs. This is a player that kind of fits the mold of a Kyle Dubas target with going after a young player who is not really fitting with his team. How about Alexei Lafreniere for a type of big acquisition at the deadline? Fits the mold, really. Young player, really struggling with the Rangers, needs a change of scenery, hasn't lived up to expectations there. It would take a lot, and the Rangers probably would not deal him in division, especially to a rival. I would be surprised, but it wouldn't shock me if Kyle Dubas did at least check in on that, because again, that is the type of player that he has been going after in these moves. The most talented player of the ones that he has, gone after / acquired, but still, it fits the mold, Pat. That's all.
It does. The thing that gives me pause on that is, one, I do think the Rangers still see him as a solution rather than one of the problems.
Potentially.
And he's making $7.4 million until 2032. And
you would have to be confident that he's a long-term piece for this team. You have to really trust your pro scouts and everyone in your front office and all that.
And I mean, this could obviously change because the guy's 24. Like, he's still got a lot of hockey ahead of him, but just he had one good year where he looked like an elite offensive player. And every other year, he has looked like a middle six, solid two-way forward. And I know that the salary cap's going up, but it's really hard to sell me on a player that's making more than $7 million that might only project into becoming at a ceiling a second line player who doesn't produce that much. But you're right. Like, that does kind of fit the mold of the kind of player that Dubas has been targeting. And I'll say this. I didn't, like we have said a million times, did not expect the Penguins to be in this position. So I haven't really thought who they would go after, just because I didn't expect them to be this good. I will say, if the opportunity presents itself to make a good type of hockey trade where you can get I'm going to say young defenseman that can help on the left side.
Right.
I wouldn't be against moving your first round pick, because they make the playoff. Think about it this way. They make the playoffs. That first round pick is going to be mid-20s. They have Winnipeg's second round pick.
That is true. Yes.
Winnipeg is not good, and that's going to be in the early 30s. Also, remember this. Ottawa is docked a first round pick this year. So the first round is only going to be 31 picks. So essentially, if you can find a good offer for a good young defenseman and it costs you your 2026 pick and you are on track to make the playoffs, you're not moving that many spots out. So if they can find that person, I'm not going to be against that.
You just got to be careful, because with where they still are in this, when you put on the fly, you don't want to be, just burning assets for the sake of burning assets. But if you do find someone that you think can be a long-term answer on the left side of your blue line that is still young, that's maybe, needs a change of scenery on his current team right now, I'll say I'll be open to it, but just tread carefully, just again, because of where they are. I think mostly they're going to stay the course. If there's a safe buy, I think that's what they might go with as well. I keep using that on the show, using that on social media. They're not going to be in the market for big rentals. Like, you're not trading a first for like a rental or your top prospects. Like, they're not. This isn't the Avalanche, Pat. We're not the Tampa Bay Lightning out here. If they're going to make a trade, it's going to be like, that hockey type trade. They're not going to be trading picks and prospects for rentals or anything like that, in my opinion. But other than that, there is one more from Sarah, though, that I did want to get to. I wish Ben Kindle would score. Everyone on the team has scored lately. I think he would feel more confident if he got one in. Yes, I do know that Ben Kindle has a really big goal drought going right now, but I'm still not really that concerned. This stuff happens when you're a really young player in the NHL. He's still only 18 years old. He's impacting the play. Even when he's not scoring, his playmaking is still good. I love the way that he's playing in his own zone, using his hockey IQ. He's always in position. He's forming some chemistry with his line mates. He is going to be perfectly fine. I'm not too concerned about it, but I also understand it would be good to hopefully get one for him. So maybe, it's going to start like, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, the pressure of not scoring will be lifted, but you also look at a player of his age and around that draft area in the first round. This happens to players that age. They go extended stretches without scoring goals. I look at Kindle's level of play, and I'm not concerned about him not scoring. Yes, I would like to see him put up a couple more goals, but you look at his overall body of work, it's not that big of a concern to me. He's driving offense. He's getting assists. He's playing a really smart 200-foot game for an 18-year-old player. So this is, as I have said a million times this season, this is part of the process. This is part of the rebuild process. You're going to have players like this who go extended stretches without scoring, but you need to look at, and I'm not saying this to Sarah, I'm just saying this in general. You need to look at more than just the box score and the stats. He's playing really well. It's going to come for him. He is working really well. He's fitting in extremely well. The goals are going to come.
Right. And I think what I was trying to say there at the end when my brain just completely farted there was that the goals will come in waves, I think, once he gets one to really get off the schneid there and all that. But I think that's going to do it for this edition of the Locked On Penguins podcast. Thank you all so much for taking the time to listen to / watch this one. Pat and I will be back with a fresh episode for you all on Monday, recapping this game against Vancouver and getting you all set for the rest of the week. And it's a pretty light week, Pat. Only Chicago and New York, but both very, and I mean very winnable games for the Penguins. So again, that'll do it for this one. Thank you all so much for tuning in. We appreciate it. We'll be back on Monday.